My name is Elena Morozova. I'm a journalist, but, more than that, I am my grandfather's granddaughter. He was an officer in the PVO during the Balhash Incident of 1979. And today I've come to the lake he once guarded. The sky was heavy, grey and low. Mist hugged the water's edge. Wood creaked under my boots as I stepped closer. I carried his old notebook, binoculars hanging around my neck. Everything felt wrong. So wrong. I opened the notebook. Faded ink, sketches of lights above the lake. Notes about strange movements, unexplained sounds. It was almost like he was trying to warn me. And then, a flicker caught my eye. Across the water, a faint glow pulsed. Not like a bird. Not like any ordinary light. I froze. Completely. I whispered to myself, is this real? The mist swallowed it sometimes, then it reappeared. Almost like it was studying me. My heart raced. I took a cautious step forward. And then silence. Silence. I set up the binoculars. Notes in one hand, the other shaking slightly. I scanned the water, the tree line, every shadow. The wind whispered through the trees. Leaves rustled. Nothing yet. Suddenly, a faint hum. Low, vibrating, almost mechanical. Goosebumps ran down my arms. I whispered, Grandfather, what did you see here? My eyes darted to the misty horizon. The light pulsed again. Brighter. Unnatural. I grabbed the notebook tightly. My voice shook. I have to document this, whatever it is. Something in the air changed. A sense of being watched. Of anticipation. And then the glow vanished. Done. Leaving the lake empty silence. I exhaled sharply. Notes scattered in the wind. My hands trembled, but I knew this was only the beginning. The Balhash Incident, it wasn't just history. It was alive. And I was about to uncover it. I stepped back from the lake. My boots sank slightly into wet sand. The notebook felt heavy in my hands. I wasn't alone.
Who else there? A rough voice came from the tree line. Shadows shifted between the trees. I mean, what are you doing here?
I raised my hand slightly. I am a Elena journalist. I am researching the Balhash Incident. My eyes searched the dark tree line. I didn't even mean to intrude.
A man stepped forward. Mid in his 40s, rugged face, coat soaked from mist. You were not supposed to be here, he said. Strange things happen at this lake. His eyes darted toward the water. Lights, movements, things people don't talk about.
I swallowed hard. I've seen a glow over the water. My voice shook. Something unnatural. He nodded, grim. It is not the first time, he whispered. You should be careful.
Later, via crackling radio, I heard the PVO recording. Officer reports of lights over Balhash Lake, unknown trajectory, repeat, unknown. Second officer, visual confirmation and clear, maintain observation.
I scribbled notes furiously. The wind tugged at my hair. Mist rolled across the water. My pulse quickened. I have to see it again to understand.
He stepped closer. If you go near the pier, you might not come back the same. His tone was serious, almost fearful. Some things are better left unexplored.
I nodded slowly, biting my lip. I know, but I have to know. I have to understand. My eyes locked on the faint glow, barely visible beyond the trees. Something moved there. Something alive. I took a deep breath. Notes, binoculars, steady hands. The glow pulsed again. Brighter this time. My heart hammered. And I knew tonight nothing would be the same. The next morning, I arrived at the old PVO archive. Dust hung in the air, thick and dry. Filing cabinets lined the walls, papers stacked haphazardly. I carried my notebook and a small flashlight. I whispered to myself, Grandfather, what did you leave behind? I ran my fingers along the folders. Some labelled 1979 Balhash Lake. Others were unsigned. My pulse quickened with each step.
From a corner, intercom crackled. Officer, Elena Morozova, authorization needed for restricted files. Second officer, we are observing remotely, proceed with caution.
I nodded, even though no one could see me. I slid open a drawer marked Balhash Incident Confidential. Yellowed papers, photographs of lights above the lake, handwritten notes in my grandfather's hand. It felt like touching history, alive history. One photo showed the lake at night. A strange glow hovered above the tree line. I leaned closer. My breath fogged the glass. I whispered, it is the same as last night. My hands trembled slightly.
A voice from the doorway startled me. Looking for answers, Elena, a middle-aged man, grey hair, sharp eyes. These reports they were not meant for public eyes. His tone was calm but firm.
I swallowed hard. I need to understand what happened, sir. He studied me, then sighed. Your grandfather, he saw things no one believed. I flipped through the notes. Coordinates, sketches, observations of unusual movement patterns. My eyes widened. A folder fell to the floor with a thud. The room seemed to shiver, dust floating in a thin shaft of light. I picked it up, trembling. It contained a log, repeated sightings, odd electromagnetic readings, unexplained disappearances of fish and birds. I whispered, this is bigger than I thought. I glanced at the clock. Shadows stretched across the room. Mist started curling under the doors. My instinct screamed something was about to happen at the lake. I grabbed my notebook. I need to go back tonight. As I stepped outside, the wind carried a faint hum. Goosebumps rose on my arms. I realized the Balhash incident wasn't just history. It was alive. And I was on its trail. Night fell fast. The lake lay under a blanket of mist. I carried my notebook, camera, and a small flashlight. Every step on the wooden pier creaked sharply. I whispered, here it begins again. The wind swirled, carrying scents of wet earth and pine. Ripples moved across the water, though no breeze touched it. My pulse thumped in my ears.
From the shadows, a man asked voice, "You shouldn't be here alone." The local witness from last night, his figure barely visible. Lights appear when the lake decides, be careful.
I nodded, gripping my camera. I have to document this for the record. The water shimmered. My breath fogged in the cold night air. Then a soft hum, low and vibrating, like distant machinery. I lifted the camera, zooming in on the lake. Small lights began to pulse beneath the surface. They moved in patterns, almost deliberate. My eyes widened. What are you?" I whispered.
From my recorder, officer, visual anomalies confirmed, depth readings abnormal, magnetic interference noted. Second officer, proceed with caution. Repeat, proceed with caution.
I crouched at the water's edge. Ripples moved against the wind. My notebook shook in my hand. A faint glow rose, forming a column of light above the water. I froze. Completely. The local witness muttered, "It's watching." Goosebumps ran down my arms. I clicked photos rapidly. The hum deepened, vibrating through the pier boards. And then, faint whispers like voices underwater. I stumbled back, breath catching. This is alive," I whispered. The lights pulsed faster, reacting to my movement. Something beneath the surface shifted, enormous and unseen. I realized tonight it would not let me leave easily. I clutched my notebook. I have to understand it to survive this. My camera captured the pulsing glow, the mist curling around it. And as I backed away, the light suddenly shot upward into the sky, leaving the lake empty silence. I arrived in the city before dawn. Streets were empty, air heavy with mist. My notebook pressed tightly in my hand. I knew the archives wouldn't welcome me easily. At the PVO office, the door was locked. A guard stepped forward, tall and rigid. "Access denied, you don't have clearance," he said, voice cold. My pulse quickened. "I need to see the Balhash reports," I whispered.
Through the intercom, officer, Miss Morozova, this is highly classified. Second officer, leaving now could be unwise.
I took a deep breath. I must continue. I need answers. The guard SI's nerd, hand hovering near his radio. I glanced around the empty hallway, flickering lights. Tension thick in the air. Suddenly, a young reporter appeared, blocking my path. "Elena, you shouldn't be here," she said, voice urgent. "These files, they be dangerous. People disappear when they pry too deep." I stared at her, heart pounding. I don't have a choice. I stepped past her, careful not to bump the metal railing. My notebook felt heavier with each step. In the archive, cabinets loomed like silent sentinels. A faint hum vibrated through the floor. My ears perked up.
From the corner, a voice whispered, "They know you were here." A man in plain clothes, shadowed by the flickering light. "Stay careful, don't let them see what you take."
I opened a drawer marked Balhash Incident Restricted. Papers, photographs, and coordinates spilled out. My fingers trembled as I read the notes. Strange readings, unusual flights, unexplained power surges. I whispered, "They've been hiding this for decades." A sudden alarm blared. Lights flashed red, casting shadows that danced across the walls. I grabbed the files and ducked behind a cabinet. "They re on to me," I muttered, heart hammering. Footsteps echoed closer, urgent, deliberate. I slipped out a side exit, clutching the documents. The cold city air hit my face. Mist curled around my boots. I realized this was no longer just about the lake. Someone or something was watching, and now I was a target. I ducked into a narrow alley, clutching the stolen files. Rain began to fall, slicking the cobblestones. My notebook was soaked, pages sticking together. I needed help, someone I could trust. I dialed an old contact from the press. Her voice crackled over the line. "Elena, are you insane? Listen," I whispered. "I have documents. Something is happening at Balhash. They're re-hiding it." She paused. "Meet me at the bridge. 10 minutes." I ran through the puddles. Streetlights glinted on wet asphalt. Heart pounding, breath short, I imagined every shadow was a watcher. "Almost like they know," I muttered.
Under the bridge, she waited, coat pulled tight. "What did you get?" she asked, eyes sharp. I handed over the papers. Proof that the incident wasn't just a local anomaly. They've covered it up for decades. Her eyes widened. This could expose everything.
We spread the documents on a wet ledge. Maps, coordinates, flight logs, strange readings. My fingers shook as I traced the lines. "See these power surges, unexplained radar blips, it's all connected," I whispered. Suddenly, headlights cut through the mist. A black SUV slowed nearby, engine idling. My pulse spiked. "They found us," I gasped. She grabbed my arm. "On." We sprinted along the canal, water splashing against our boots. Rain stung my face. Fog swallowed the street. I clutched the files, heart hammering. Every step felt like they were just behind us. We ducked into an abandoned warehouse. Wooden beams creaked under our weight. I leaned against a crate, catching my breath. "They won't stop until they get the files," I whispered. "We need a plan, fast." I scanned the documents again. Names, dates, odd coordinates, patterns emerging. "If we follow these, we might find where the anomaly is controlled," I said. She nodded, determination in her eyes. "Then we move tonight." I looked at the warehouse ceiling, rain dripping through the cracks. Outside, the city hummed with unseen eyes. And I knew our investigation had crossed the line. There was no turning back now. We were part of it. Night had fallen thick and heavy. We approached the old perimeter, abandoned signs swaying in the wind. My flashlight cut narrow beams through the fog. Every shadow felt alive. The coordinates led us to a rusted gate. Wire fencing, bent and broken in places. I crouched, scanning the area. "Stay quiet," I whispered. "They might still be watching."
My ally, cautious, checked the surroundings. "Sensors show movement near the lake," he murmured. I nodded, swallowing hard. Then we moved fast.
We crept along a cracked path. Rusted metal groaned under our weight. The air smelled of wet earth and ozone. Ahead, the lake reflected a dim, pulsing light. I crouched behind a collapsed shed. "Look," I whispered. Structures like antennas emerging from the mist. Blue and violet glows pulsed rhythmically, almost alive. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine.
He pointed to a console half buried in sand. Could be a control point, possibly abandoned or trapped. I stepped closer, notebook in hand. We need to see what it is doing.
Lights above the water shifted suddenly. Shapes moved inside the mist, geometric and fast. "It is active," I whispered, voice barely audible. The scanner beeped erratically. Energy readings spiked. We traced cables disappearing into the lake. Water rippled unnaturally, reflecting the pulses. "Almost like it is alive," I muttered. My ally tightened his grip on a flashlight. "We were not alone here." Suddenly, a loud hum vibrated through the ground. Mist swirled violently. Shapes rose above the water, briefly forming a lattice of lights. I froze, heart hammering. This is bigger than we thought. Before we could react further, a spotlight cut through the mist. Shadows of men in uniforms appeared at the far edge. I whispered, "We've been spotted." My ally grabbed my arm. "On." And we sprinted into the darkness, the lake-esque pulse chasing us. We ducked behind the rocks, lungs burning. Spotlight swept the mist, cutting through the night. I clutched the files tighter. Every pulse from the lake echoed in my chest. "Look there," I whispered. Shapes hovered above the water, geometric, almost mechanical. Light pulses synchronized with subtle hums. My mind raced. This isn't natural, it's controlled.
My ally scanned the area with a handheld detector. "Energy signatures are off the charts," he muttered. "We were talking about something or someone orchestrating this." I nodded, unease growing with every flicker of light.
A sudden vibration shot through the ground. Mist swirled like it had a mind of its own. The water shimmered, forming a luminous lattice that pulsed with intelligence. I whispered, almost to myself, it is observing us adapting. I opened the file, scanning diagrams and annotations. Coordinates matched what we saw. Notes hinted at prior experiments, human involvement, hidden agendas. It is not just an anomaly, I realized. It is a controlled phenomenon.
He pointed to a faint trail leading inland. Command center, maybe whoever is running this has oversight. I swallowed hard. We need to follow it, but carefully.
The lattice shifted suddenly, reacting to our movement. Water spray and faint lights reflected on our faces. They can see us, I muttered. Or sense us. Fear prickled my skin. We were not invisible. We moved along the shoreline, keeping low. Mist thickened, hiding our steps. Every pulse of light seemed to follow, almost like heartbeat. I could feel the tension in my bones. Suddenly, a low mechanical hum resonated. Shapes rose vertically, forming a bridge of light. My ally gasped. It is communicating or projecting something. I nodded, realization dawning. We were inside its perception range. A figure emerged near the water edge. Tall and distinct, cloaked in shadows. I froze. Human or something else? My ally whispered, we just crossed the line, then are we here? We edged closer to the source, hearts pounding. Mist swirled around our ankles, damp and cold. Every step felt deliberate, measured, like the ground itself was testing us. The lake's pulses grew stronger. Light shifted across the surface, fracturing into intricate patterns. I whispered, it is reacting to us, I can feel it. My ally nodded, scanning for movement, muscles tense.
We need to get closer, he said, voice low. Those readings, they read off the charts. I swallowed, nodding. Every signal here is dangerous. Fog and light danced together, creating ghostly illusions.
Suddenly, a ripple erupted across the lake. Water shot up in a glowing arc. Our flashlights reflected off it, casting eerie shadows. It is like it knows we were here, I gasped, gripping the files tighter. We crouched behind a jagged rock. Pulsing lights formed an almost solid barrier over the water. If we go through there, we risk everything, my ally murmured. I nodded, heart hammering. We have to see it, we need proof. I inched forward, notebook in one hand, flashlight in the other. The hum intensified, resonating through my bones. Shapes of light twisted and stretched like living tendrils. Almost alive, I whispered, voice trembling.
Suddenly, a sharp vibration shot up my leg. The legs seemed to pulse beneath us, synchronized with my heartbeat. We've triggered something, my ally said, eyes wide. Shadows began moving independently of the mist, forming patterns I couldn't interpret.
I opened the files again, trying to connect dots. Coordinates matched the pulsing lights. Notes mentioned previous observers who vanished. A chill ran down my spine. We were not the first, I whispered. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed. The water erupted in a column of violet energy. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the files. My ally shouted, move now. We bolted along the shoreline, barely keeping our footing in the mud. From the edge of the mist, I glimpsed a figure. It moved with unnatural precision, almost mechanical. I froze. It is waiting, watching. My ally grabbed my arm. We can stop now. We have to find its source. We reached the center, breathless and soaked. The water surface glowed with blinding pulses. I clutched the files, trembling. This was it, the source of everything. Shapes rose from the lake, coalescing into a lattice of light. At its center, a figure tall, humanoid, cloaked in shadows. It exuded authority and intent. My ally whispered, it is not entirely human. I stepped forward cautiously. What are you? The figure tilted its head, as if studying us. Pulses of energy rippled outward, reacting to our presence.
My ally grabbed my arm. Be careful, we don't know its limits. I nodded, heart hammering. Every instinct screamed to flee, but curiosity overrode fear. We need answers, I whispered.
The figure raised a hand. Light extended toward us, scanning, probing. I felt memories, images, reports flooding my mind. Scenes of past incidents, disappearances, cover-ups. I gasped. It is showing us the truth. Coordinates, logs, and patterns aligned. This anomaly had been controlled for decades. Humans, officials, scientists, all pawns. I whispered, it has been orchestrated all along.
The figure withdrew slightly. The lattice of light shimmered, contracting. My ally said, it is giving us a choice, leave or interfere. I glanced at the files. We can just walk away.
I stepped closer, raising a hand. We want to understand, to reveal the truth. The figure observed silently, then receded into the lattice. Light pulses faded, leaving calm water and misty air. Silence enveloped us. The files felt heavier in my hands. We had witnessed something extraordinary. and now the burden of truth rested on us. As we walked back to the shore, exhausted and trembling, I realised one thing: this was only the beginning. The world would never see the Balhash incident the same way, and we would carry its secrets forever. Forever.